Boston get to witness here at home a World Championship clinching victory. Uehara getting the final out on a strikeout at the end of a 6-1 Red Sox win. And now the celebration has moved inside Fort Boston into their clubhouse. And for my partner, for 18 years, he was preparing for this, his final game, as it turned out, in this 2013 World Series. Tim McCarver, the Hall of Famer, his thoughts as he looks back over a great career, both on the field and in the booth, from Fenway.
When do moments in life become memories? I'm not sure, but maybe it starts with a flutter in your heart or a gasp in your throat and ends with just the hint of a tear in your mind's eye. Maybe it's the magic of October, because when it comes to baseball, I have never felt more moments to remember than in the World Series. My first behind the plate was in 1964. I felt the radiating power of Mickey Mantle every time he came to bat, even with his osteomyelitis at an advanced stage. I could hear him groan when he swung and missed, but oh, when he connected, it was something. In 1967, I saw Triple Crown winner Carl Yastrzemski, after going 0 for 4 in Game 1, roll the batting cage out of the bowels of Fenway Park to take extra batting practice after 163 games. It worked. Yes, homered twice in Game 2, and the Red Sox even the series, eventually falling to the Cardinals in 7 games. 1968, the Detroit Tigers won despite the heroic efforts of my battery mate, the iconic, iron-willed Bob Gibson. He struck out 17 Tigers in Game 1 and won 7 straight World Series games, both World Series records.
I always liked to work fast. Tim walked out in front of the mound and he was pointing at the scoreboard. I turned around and I looked at the scoreboard and I tied Sandy Koufax's record of 15 strikeouts. And so I says, yeah, okay, fine. Give me the ball and let's go. Tim called a tremendous ball game. And what made Tim special was that after maybe an inning, he and I were pretty much on the same path. After, I guess it's 50-some years, we are definitely the best friends in the world right now, and I think it's going to stay that way.
1985 was my first year in the booth, joining the incomparable Al Michaels and Jim Palmer. I was a rookie all over again.
I was very excited when Tim McCarver was assigned to the 1985 World Series. It's about 10 minutes before we're going to go on the air, and I look over at Tim, and he looked very nervous. And it surprised me. So he said, let me ask you this. Are you more nervous before Game 1 of the World Series as a player or as a broadcaster? And he looked at me wide-eyed and said, are you kidding? As a broadcaster.
4 years later at Candlestick Park, the earth moved violently before Game 3, testing San Francisco's courageous populace.
If you're in an earthquake, 15 seconds seems closer to 15 minutes. But I remember for one very petrifying moment, there was a feeling that we were going to get pitched out of the booth and drop maybe 50 feet to the ground, and that would have been the end of that, and on national television as well.
And in 2001, the cataclysmic events of 9/11 shook our nation. You could feel the goose-bumped electricity of Games 4 and 5 at venerable Yankee Stadium. What a privilege. You know, I have witnessed 27 fall classics in the last 50 years in person, either squatting, sitting, or standing. A remarkable play, unbelievable. And that's more than I could have ever asked from this fascinating game.
And now we welcome you inside our broadcast booth. I'm Joe, and that's the guy you just heard from, my partner, my friend. Here we are after 18 wonderful years together.
I don't know who's going to replace me next year, but I will guarantee you one thing. This guy will make you better. And I mean much better. And it's been a privilege and an honor to be with you, Joe. And all the talented men and women behind the scenes throughout the years. 34 years ago, my obligation shifted from the field and the players to the booth and to you, the viewers. Fairness and accuracy and honesty have always been my goals, along with teaching you something you may not have known about this great game. I hope I've achieved those things. Thank you very much.
You know, I'll say this as we say goodbye. You know, I speak on behalf of Major League Baseball. I know everybody at Fox when I say thank you for the credibility you bring us night after night in October. Personally, I will tell you that as a kid in our first World Series back in 1996, scared to death, scared out of my wits, fearful of being found out as some fraud, as some broadcaster's kid getting a chance to do it, I looked to my right and I knew that I was covered because of you. Just as my dad knew I was covered because of you. All those goals you had that you just talked about, you achieved them. You're the best to ever do this in this sport, and it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure over these 18 years, 16 World Series. You are the
He's
best.
made everybody watch the World Series more in the last 18 years than anybody before, or maybe since.
He's brought into my life both in a booth and outside the booth.
Ditto.
Well, here it is. We celebrate the Boston Red Sox here in 2013, and for the final time, it has been a privilege. On behalf of Tim McCarver, I'm Joe Buck. So long from Fenway. For the third time in 10 years, the Red Sox are atop the baseball world. They open the season picked for last. Expectations, none. But then a tragedy that rocked a city and a nation. But we're talking about the folks of Boston here. Nothing could take away their city. They came together around their beloved Red Sox, who began a most unlikely journey. A new leader, some new faces, and some not so new. But a new byword, chemistry. A team and a city way too tough to stay down. They are Boston strong.
Sports fans, and to you, the individuals, part of the collective out there in the tubosphere, welcome to One Man Sports Rant. I am, always have been, your host, Will the Alternative ESPN Sports Thrill. Talking post-game discussion of the World Series. Boston, they deserved it, wins it all. Got a little slideshow going on here. From some of the, take it for some of the film you saw earlier. So yeah, it's the end of a long season. Been covering baseball all year. All right, so just a reminder, my sponsor is the DMCA, Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Covers fair use standard, minimal use, and derivatives. So all the video highlights courtesy to Fox and MLB and the respective teams. Everything else to the OMSR. You may have noticed, got my color scheme going on here for Boston. Got 2 S's going on. All right, not really. But it is a limited edition 55-year anniversary Disneyland sweatshirt. And so I figured, well, of all the available props, this would be the best one. Fitting because of the aforementioned color scheme. And the great question that is always asked after every big sporting event, what are you going to do now? I am going to Disneyland. Yeah, these dudes should be going to Disneyland, Disney World, and Atlantis down there in the Caribbean. You know what I'm saying? All right, so the topics for this game, David Ortiz and his hitting. But mostly what I'd like to go through, the sport rant coming up, but you gotta feel good for Napoli. He got his, how do you say, revenge. frankly. No David Freese being the hero of this World Series. Wasn't going to be stolen away from Boston, not after what happened in March. The OMSR was covering that, actually. You know, there's not a whole lot of college sports going on except basketball at that time, but it's regular season, so I was like, okay, let's show, you know, maybe the New York and Boston marathons. I'm watching it, boom, that happened. Also, a family member had just finished over the line 5 minutes before that all went down. So, you know, sports is sort of like the great equalizer, and baseball has a way of making a flair for the dramatic. I think you would all agree. We saw that all year this season. I think it was one of the better postseasons. Spent a lot of time covering it. If you want to go back on the channel and relive how the season evolved, because Boston nor St. Louis mid-season was anywhere near the run. You know, it was the Pittsburgh Pirates were well ahead of St. Louis and Cincinnati, and all this other crazy stuff going on. Now I'm out of props. What am I going to do? Try the giant baseball. You know, Aaron Andrews is great on the sideline. I'm not anti-Aaron Andrews for college football. Fine. She gets to be the woman on point for Fox, you know, Football Saturday. She's never done baseball, only until last year. And suddenly she's down there on the field with the whole stadium hearing her do interviews. Are these guys really supposed to take her seriously? I know some of you dudes are thinking that out there. With all due respect to some of my female subs, I doubt they're even going to be watching. To my girlfriend down there in T-Town. It's like, I got nothing against that. If she'd been like a Tracy Wilson type, covered baseball in the postseason for the last 6 years, fine. You know, Reese Davis and Chris Fowler, they didn't just pop in on the field after the, you know, the end of the Orange Bowl to do post-game interviews and discuss trophy handouts after being with ESPN for only 2 years. Dealt with all that. Alright, lots more coming up. This is only part one. I covered 27 minutes of this game. Had to, you know, cut and slash and burn and edit it. It's probably one of my best editing jobs ever. Lost a lot of good stuff, but kept a lot of the good stuff. Congrats to Boston. You earned it. From last year being left for dead, again, with the assumption carrying over with them this year, to, hey, who's laughing now? All right. Later days and more signature plays.